In this podcast, we chat about the win against Exeter, the draw against Plymouth, look ahead to Leicester, and answer your podcast questions. This is the Boro Breakdown podcast, and this is like a Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod.
Support. Curtis Fleming is there on the edge of the area. Fleming for Craig Hignett. Hit it, Higgy. Higgy hits the treble!
Avenelli coming alive again. Juninho wants the ball played to him. Avenelli spots out Emerson!
Hello and welcome to the Boro Breakdown podcast with Jonny, Dana, and Tom. We're the Boro podcast that gives you all of your Boro Matchday Chatter in a podcast. And Boro are in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup and 11th in the championship table. 4 points off the championship places. Guys, as always, your key takeouts from a world win of a week in Devon. And Dana, how would you sum all of that up in one key takeout?
Well, one word, chaos. We've had a lot of goals to talk about for this week, 11. So we won't be shy of talking points and topics to tackle in this podcast. And yeah, it's just a return of chaotic Boro, really, from last season that scored a lot and also conceded quite a few. I think a big focus has been put on Boro defensively, particularly after yesterday's game. But I think you're going to get that, aren't you? We're going to get right into it. So yeah, just chaos. Just a very boring week, Jonny. Nothing's happened, really, has it?
No, not at all. I don't even know why we're recording, to be honest. I
Yeah,
can't
neither.
remember one thing that happened from this week.
Should we wrap it up now?
Yeah. No, why not? I think everyone would be happy with that. Tom, give me your key takeout before we wrap things up.
Well, I had a different one, but I think chaos is right. Like, you look at the two games that we've had this week, and Exeter scoring two absolute worldies, and Morgan Rogers getting one, and then obviously there's been the storm on the south coast this week, so the weather wasn't particularly great for the Plymouth game. That probably factored into the match as well. Other than the fact that Plymouth are a good team, and I'm fully expecting them to be staying up this season and starting the first step of their new 5-year plan. But just chaotic week. I'm missing not conceding after I missed last weekend, and clearly a very poor performance that I've missed against Stoke. I've not even watched the highlights back because I don't want to put myself through that. But I wanted to go back to how it was a couple of weeks ago, where we weren't conceding, and we were winning 2 or 3-0 or 4-0 against Sunderland. Yeah,
exactly. And it's always harder against 10 men, as Sunderland found out yesterday, and with a drew 0-0 against Swansea. But I think for my key takeout, I would say, just chaos. It was absolute chaos. And what a great 2 games of football. I think for a neutral, it's fantastic. But I think for us, where you have to dissect things, you have to look back and you go, why Boro so open, or are we open? Are we defensively naive? Are we rubbish? Or are we just unfortunate? And there's just so much you can kind of dissect about Boro at the moment. And I just really enjoyed it as a whole. I think going forward, we're brilliant. Defensively, we could always improve, but I think there's, we can always come on to that. But yeah, a very chaotic week. And it all started at Exeter in the Carabao Cup as well, where we made 6 changes to the side with Glover, Bangura, Dykesteel, Hackney, Silvera, Rogers, and Laterlaf all coming in. And Dana, obviously, what a great cup tie. But what would be your overall assessment of the game?
Just chaos again. Boro, it was an entertaining game. I will say I enjoyed it, even though my stream is about 10 weeks behind and it was in Portuguese. But it was quite fitting that it was in Portuguese. It was actually a Brazilian stream, because when Morgan Rogers scored, the commentator was shouting "Golazo," which I think was probably a perfect description of it, actually. And you could probably gauge how long that golazo went on for as per Portuguese commentary. But I think the scoreline probably makes Exeter look a little bit better than they were. The narrative may be that they were unfortunate and that they were close to getting something. And I guess in reflection of the actual scoreline, they were a goal away from taking it to penalties or whatever it is. But I actually thought they struggled throughout the game. Boro did dominate, even in the first half, where we had all that possession, but just didn't have that punch to it. we just needed to quicken the tempo, and we did that in the second half. You could see we were getting into our groove. I was actually just about to tweet that Boro were getting into our groove, and then it came up on my phone that we'd scored, but I didn't actually see that goal until about 10 minutes later. But it wasn't really a surprise that we managed to get that goal, and what a fantastic goal it was as well. I think Exeter really struggled to deal with us, particularly through the middle. They struggled to gatekeep Barlasser and Hackney, and also out wide as well, because that was a game that had 2 goals in which players were cutting inside and shooting. And I think their fullback Harper really struggled to defend against that. So it was as I expected from Exeter. I think their quality just wasn't quite there, but to be fair, I mean, the first goal that they scored was fantastic, wasn't it? I'm not going to sit here and discredit that. It was one hell of a strike from Trevitt. I think the second one is deflected, so I am not going to class that as a worldie, but Exeter fans can. It's up to them. But 3-2 maybe not as reflective of the 2 performances as what might be expected. But happy that we got through. I knew that we would probably make it a little bit more difficult for ourselves, as I predicted on the pod beforehand, but it's the Boro way, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely is. And look at that game as well. Like 2 shots on target they had, and they both went in the back of the net. They didn't create a single thing afterwards. But that's just very much cup football, as the pundits would say, a proper cup tie. But Exeter were in that 5-4-1 shape, Tom, after I was out of possession. They tried to sit back, they tried to nullify Boro to some extent, but we were still passing through. What were your thoughts on Boro's reaction? Because, not just to go behind, to level, and then to, go ahead and then go back level again, and then to win the game. What were your thoughts on that? I think in Boro's mentality side of things, and just Boro trying to really progress it in the cup as well.
You know what? I hate saying this because as a Boro fan, I feel like it's tempting fate, and I've never been used to this in like all my time as a Boro fan. I just kind of expected it, and I mean it's obviously a great quality for the team to have. Going in, was it 2-1 down yesterday against Plymouth, and 1-0 down at half time against Exeter. I think just before half time, Semi Silvera just had that outside foot shot that was tipped over the bar. It only looked like it was going one way on Tuesday night. I still thought we're going to come back and win this, and then yesterday going in 2-1 down at half time, I was looking at it and I was like, it's kind of like that GTA meme where he's like, here we go again. Like, you just kind of you think it's going to happen. So I mean, like I say, it's such a good quality for the team to have, and I don't remember too many other Boro teams over me as supporting Boro where we could go in down at half time and I'll still be thinking, I'm going to turn it around in the second half and win this.
Yeah, I always think of Tony Mowbray's Middlesbrough actually. With that, because we always used to go like 1-0 down, and then it just somehow we started to play then. And it was just like, oh well, can we just let these score first and just like we'll crack on from that. But I think obviously Boro coming back is a really good thing. It's good show of mentality, and also second half as well. We tend to score. I think it was about 75% of our goals. I think it come from the second half as well. But the second half, the 2 or 3 goals, you can kind of say Boro scored. You can't really call later laughs a Worldie because it's a penalty. But Rogers and Silvera, was there any of your favorite? What was your favorite? Was Trevitt's one of your favorite from that week then? Or was it Morgan Rogers? Was it Silvera? What are you going to go for?
Well, I've got to be biased, haven't I, and say that it's a Boro goal that will get my Worldie of the week. And it has to be Morgan Rogers. He seems to do that a lot in training. He put a little compilation on Instagram where it's that little shift and shoot. And I just love goals that arrow into the top corner. I think they're really delightful, and the curl on it as well. It was a game of curlers, shall we say. And I will give credit to Trevitt's, though, because I think it caught Glover out immeasurably, and it caught me out on the stream when I saw it. I thought, is that actually just like the amount of worldies that we seem to concede this season? Part of me thought, have we really just conceded that? Then the other part of me thought, of course we did. We've done it all season. So yeah, credit to Trevitt for that. But I have to go with Morgan Rogers. It was a fantastic strike.
Yeah, Tom, what are you going to go for? What was your Worldie of the week?
It was Ladder Laugh's penalty. Let's be real. No, it's got to be Morgan Rogers. I just wasn't expecting it from him when he cut inside, to be honest, and it just seeing that fly into the top corner, it was just reminiscent of like FIFA 13 and then finesse shots everyone used to
Yeah.
absolutely spam all the time. It just looked like Morgan Rogers has based his game on that.
Yeah, definitely. And look, Rogers again, like 2 goals in 3 games now as well, and he's really starting to come in a bit of form. Do you think it's time, like Tom, now that we actually integrate him back into the 11, and whose place does he actually take?
See, the thing is with that, I'd like him to be in the 11, but also it's only really Crux's place that he could take, and Crux hasn't done anything to get dropped. For me, I mean, we talked about with the last pod I was on, Crux has been consistently good and consistently improving in that number 10 position. So I think Morgan Rogers is potentially in a similar situation to what Dan Barlaser had found himself in earlier in the season before he kind of had that run of games where he's kind of like just really waiting for an opportunity to break into the team. It might not necessarily be, performing out your skin in a cup game. It's going to be, if someone gets suspended for a game or they're ill for a game or something like that, and you come into the first team in the league and then perform, which is a shame because I think he is improving. I think he's every time we kind of see him play now, he's looking a lot better than the start of the season where he's been used as a striker, been used out of position. We didn't really see what he was all about, but he's got a fair few goals now in the cups, and he is looking much better. So, like I say, it's just going to be the case of waiting for that opportunity and seizing it when it comes along.
Yeah, and just with him as well, I know there's more players that are on the sidelines at the minute, and they're probably going to maybe he'll come back in. Obviously, I'm thinking of Ryan McGree. Will he come back in the side when he's fit again? But also there's like Elaf, the Silvera, who could potentially stake a claim as well. So, Dan, is there anyone else that you think probably warrants a starting position at the moment, as well as probably Morgan Rogers?
Not really. As bad as that sounds, I think Silvera is okay as an impact player. And then Latte Lath, I think it's quite telling of Latte Lath that Josh Coburn has, in the eyes of the fans anyway, maybe gone through a little bit of a tough period in which he's probably really had to feed off scraps essentially. And yet Latte Lath hasn't started in place of him. I think there was a point after one of the recent games where you maybe thought, okay, now you want to see Latte Lath start, and he didn't. And I think that maybe tells the story about Latte Lath. I don't think he necessarily really impressed against Exeter, but it's all about the service to Latte Lath. Him and Coburn are 2 completely different players. Coburn can pin a centre half and use his physicality. I mean, he's a big lad. He's 6'4". It's his big physical frame that, if you adhere to that, if you give him that type of service, then I think he'll get a lot better fortunes than, for example, Latte Lath doing that, because Latte Lath's the type of striker that wants to get in behind and make those runs. We see his good movement quite frequently. So I think it's really down to the service there, but I wouldn't say necessarily impressed me so much against Exeter. And Sammy Silvera as well is really, really, really infuriating, because his style of play when he's on the ball is to try to cut inside and shoot, except his shooting is really, really poor. And I know that he scored against Exeter, and I know that, he's obviously scored in the league as well recently, but he just spoons too many shots out of play, and it really frustrates me. So I think for now, you've also got to factor in, where does Sammy Silvera play? He plays in that left wing position, and at the moment Sam Greenwood is playing okay there. So yeah, they made an impact. They scored, obviously, but I think keeping them where they are as impact players is probably the best thing to do right now. But we do have fixtures coming up. We're going to have to use the squad. So, a lot of, when we get into the Christmas period, we're going to have to use them.
Yeah, we will. And I quite like Elaf, and I know you're saying there's the 2 different players for Coburn and Elaf, but he does hold the ball up well, and he does connect the player. But I just think there's just more to it. I think I need to keep seeing. He does look dangerous, and I thought Coburn probably had his best game in a while yesterday, but we'll come on to him in a moment. But in terms of like anyone else, I think obviously Rogers, I think is your natural next player to come in. I thought Bangura did well against Exeter, but I think Lucas Engels was just playing really consistent at the moment. Obviously, still improvements to be made for him. Other than that, I can't really see anyone else coming in. But obviously, Boro are
I
through
forgot
now.
about Bangura.
There you go.
I
Two
just,
assists. Well,
I do want to
there were
mention
two
it.
very shit passes.
Yeah, they were. I think his expected assist was 0.02, so 0.002, so it was basically nothing. But yeah, Bangura, I completely forgot about him, to be honest. He quite impressed me going forward. Defensively wasn't really tested, let's be honest, but I quite like the look of Bangura. And just a point on Rodgers as well. Could he maybe play in Jones's role? He has played right wing before. I think with Rodgers, if he does play in that number 10 position, I want to see him deeper, because when he was taking the ball from deep against Exeter, it was really dangerous. I think one of Rodgers' problems is his first touch. When that low ball along the floor from the centre halves to that number 10 is played, he doesn't really, like, he struggles to trap it, I feel. And so I want to see him pick the ball up from deep, from Hackney or House, and just that little pass off. And then when he drives with the ball, he's very dangerous. So if he does start in that number 10 position in the foreseeable future, I'd like him to attack the game in that way rather than being quite high advanced in the pitch and then taking the ball in those areas.
And just before I move on to Port Vale, Anthony Dijksteel, give me more Dijksteel. I want it, Michael Carrick. I want to see Anthony Dijksteel on that football pitch. And yes, I love Rav van den Berg. I think he's absolutely fantastic. And I think we're going to sell him for loads. But, play Van den Berg at centre half, with maybe Dale Fry, and we'll see how that goes. And get Anthony Dijksteel on that right back position, because I just absolutely love him. His turn the other night was fantastic, and just so good to see him back in a Boro shirt after so long out. But let's chat about Port Vale, because, probably I would kind of say the best draw you could ask for.
It is.
Obviously Uche's there as well, so that kind of creates a former Boro player narrative to score against us, and we'll see how that goes. But then, obviously, it probably is the best draw, right?
It is, absolutely. And I think Port Vale fans will be thinking the same as well after they simmer down from being fuming that they didn't get a Premier League tie, which that frustration is understandable. When you get to the quarterfinals, they made club history by getting to this part of the competition. You want that big Premier League draw, don't you? So apologies, Port Vale fans. But it does represent for both teams the best route to progression. And I will heed caution here, because this is maybe not a team, but the same club that got beat by Burton and knocked out in 2018, and then in 2008 got knocked out by Cardiff. So, we have dabbled in the odd of being victims of a cup upset, and I just hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, without doubt, you cannot escape from the fact that it's or the opinion, sorry, that it's the best possible draw for both teams, and hopefully Boro can progress. But yeah, there's just that niggling typical Boro-ness in the back of my mind that's thinking, God, don't get too excited.
Yeah. Tom, what's your thoughts on it as well? Because do you fancy our chances getting through to the semis?
I would say yes. It's like we said, it's the most favorable draw we could have asked for. It's the most favorable draw they could have asked for. Let's not be complacent. They are going to be well up for it. There's a few ex-Boro players in there who one of them tends to score against us for fun, and the other two are goalkeepers. So who knows if they're going to have worldies or not? But yeah, it would be written, and it would be typical if they did. But it is the best chance of progression, and I'm sure we'll be well up for it in December. But I start every season not really caring about the Carabao Cup in particular. I'm just like, we're going to get knocked out, and we'll just get on with the championship season. I think even so, just like, how often do you see a championship team like go to the final or even win it? Like, it's not a realistic thing. And now I'm coming down with like cup fever. I'm just like, all right, I can't wait until Port Vale. Now I don't think I'll be going because it's like the week before Christmas, but I'll get past that and then into the semis and 2 legs against. I'm assuming it's still 2 legs. It's been a while since we got to that stage of a competition, but yeah, 2 legs against what is hopefully an average Premier League team. Worst case scenario, a very good Premier League team. That'd just be immense for us. And a similar kind of situation to what Port Vale have been thinking, where they were like, we wanted a Premier League tie, and Premier League, the cup money and the ticket money from that would be great for their club. If we get to the semi-final, it's exactly the same scenario for us, really. So that has to be looked at as like a massive success for this season. Even if we only progress to the semi-finals and get battered, it's still a massive success for us.
Yeah, it definitely is. And you never know, we could actually go all the way. Who knows? The stars are aligning. It's worst starts until 3 or 4, just the year we won it as well. So you never know. History could align on that one. And it was an interesting one, though, because we were always saying there about like money and getting to the semi-finals, but our game didn't get called for TV, which I thought was a very strange one. And when you think of exposure and what this could mean to the lower league clubs, obviously Port Vale, obviously being a couple of divisions below, you'd think that this could really help us, but instead it's 2 games from Premier League teams. And it's just like, I see these new enough every week on Sky, so why don't you at least pick something a little bit different? But do you guys have any thoughts on that side of things, Tom and Dana? I'll go you first, Tom, and then Dana can...
I feel like if it wasn't on Sky Sports, we would have been picked.
Yeah.
Sky Sports will be looking at it and thinking, oh, the Premier League is where we make all our money, and we're just going to show Liverpool versus West Ham, even though you're probably going to see it on 2 Sundays this season. If it was like the FA Cup and it was on BBC, I feel like we probably would have been the ones picked there, and probably also the Newcastle one, because it is like potential history for them, kind of ongoing. But yeah, I think it's just down to which TV station it's on, and Sky clearly know their audience and what's going to bring in the money. It's just a shame they couldn't televise all 4, really. But I'm sure we'll be on TV in like Australia or something, and
Brazil.
Yeah.
Got a big fan base in Brazil,
Yeah, massive. It's absolutely massive.
Brazil's, bro.
Gonzalo's. Yeah, exactly. Juninho, Emerson, Branco. They're all there, mate. You know what I mean? So Afonso Alves, household name in Brazil, isn't he? So who knows? But then, is there anything else that you want to add to that before we move on to Plymouth?
Yeah, it's not surprising, but it's just annoying, isn't it? You think about the narrative of Port Vale getting to this stage of the competition for the first time in their history, the exposure that they could receive off the back of that. It's just boring from Sky. But we've kind of come to expect it, haven't we? It's just annoying, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure that they'll put the next one on if we get there, but it's more that I'm kind of offended on the behalf of Port Vale, which is kind of like, it's none of my business, but at the same time, like, it would be good exposure for a League One club, the lower mid-table in their respective division. It would just be good exposure for them, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and obviously Newcastle on TV again. Did you know that since they've been taken over, they've been the most televised team on Sky, and they've always got loads of 5:30 kickoffs and and 4:30. So, I mean, what does that tell you? You know what I mean?
I'm glad we didn't get them.
Soon.
Yeah, they'll have their own channel. Yeah,
Sky Sports Newcastle. It's probably coming in the next year.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean,
I'll cancel my Sky subscription if that happens, Tom. God.
Oh, there'll be something going on as well, like around payoff referees, because obviously loads of referees are in Saudi now, and they're all getting favorable decisions. Just throwing that out there,
Well, to be fair, their fans think the Carabao Cup draw's fixed because they didn't get an average team in the quarterfinals. Well, we've just had United, City, and Chelsea. It's rigged against us, but they're on telly every week, so stuff them.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff them. And anyway, that's enough for Newcastle chat. But let's move on to Plymouth now, where Boro drew 3-3 at home park. And again, another firework game in Devon. Boro coming from behind, of course, to nearly snatch it, and then Whitaker's free kick right at the end, seal the draw. But Tom, what was your assessment of the game against Plymouth? Obviously, Boro going ahead with Corbyn, then going behind, then getting ahead again, and then being pinned back. What's your assessment?
Entertaining game. I hope we don't see many more like it, is my assessment. It kind of really reminds me of, there was a game, I think it was the season that Swansea went up, and I'm pretty sure their beat was like 4-3 at the Riverside, and everyone came out of it and like, oh, it's such an entertaining game to watch. And I was like, yeah, but we've still conceded 4 goals and lost. Like, we shouldn't be coming out of that happy. I'd much rather see us go to somewhere like that and win 1-0 and grind it out than see a 3-3 draw, to be totally honest. I thought we probably deserved the win on balance of play, but I don't want to take anything away from Plymouth because I thought they played really well, and I was expecting them to as well. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I watched a lot of them in League One or anything like that. I saw a couple of their games on the AFL highlight show when I couldn't find the remote and couldn't turn it off after the championship pass last season. But I remember watching their games and thinking, they're top of the league. They're going to be decent in the championship next year. I don't think they're going to go down. I think they're obviously a really well-run club. They've got a style of play. They've stuck with their style of play in the championship, and I think it's going to keep them up. They played well yesterday. Like I say, entertaining game to watch. I just personally don't want to see many more like that from Boro.
Yeah, and look, Plymouth for me, really good team. At home, away from home, they look dire, to be honest. But when I seen them yesterday, really going in possession, I feel like they just missed 2 or 3 players. You know who they could have really done with? Someone who pins the ball up at top, who holds the ball up and plays it off to the wingers, and that would, for me, would have been really effective. So quite funny that we had Coburn, who isn't always perfect, but he kind of gives you some sort of focal point up top. But then, what's your thoughts on Plymouth as well? I thought Stephen Schumacher's side were really, really good yesterday and able to cut Boro up and that, which I think is the first time I've seen a team do it probably this season where they've kind of, cut us up and try to get in the back post and score. Obviously, last week was Stoke, but a little bit different because it was time and time again. But what's your overall thoughts on Schumacher's side?
I really was impressed with them. I was probably far more impressed with them than I was with us yesterday. I thought they were maybe the best side that we faced this season, and they caused us problems. They really, really did. It was that underlapping run because they pinned the wingers so high. It enabled those underlapping runs on the inside, and we could not deal with that. Their movement was really good. Maybe a little bit soft in midfield, and I think the fact that they were pushing a few men forward to create overloads out wide did allow for Boro to have a few opportunities on the other side from counter-attacks. And it was a bonkers game, wasn't it? I was half expecting Neil Warnock to suddenly spawn on the pitch with his fanny pack and his signed photos of himself. But it was a very entertaining game. Again, a big theme of this week. And I was really impressed with them, which is why part of me thinks, I know that there's this opinion post-match that it was 2 points dropped, but it's kind of why I lean more on the side of it could actually be a decent point, because you look at Plymouth and maybe people think that recently promoted teams, it takes them a while to really get into the groove of the championship, etc., etc. They look really good, to be fair. They're set up really well under Schumacher, and they've got some really good individual players that culminates into this really good collective unit that play football. And yes, they might be a little bit poor defensively, but it's a little bit like us in that, are you really wanting to scale it back? No, you want to take that risk in order to hopefully become more of a refined unit in the future. And I think that they will be. But yeah, they were a fantastic team, I thought. And Boro maybe it is a good point for us in the end against them.
Yeah, and I just want to add to that as well. Like when you look at probably their underlying numbers and look at the ratings of the team, they're actually just one place below Middlesbrough in the FOT mob ratings, of course. And if you look at like different sites like Who Scored and FBref, etc., and you look at like the ratings of teams, they're actually just one position below Middlesbrough, which it kind of shows that they're creating probably plenty of chances. They're really good in possession. They've got some good individual players that you mentioned there, Dan. And I think for me, they just miss maybe 2 or 3 players I think which could really add to the team. You think about depth as well, where they might probably try and improve on, and obviously that 5-year plan for them to become more of a sustainable club in the championship will potentially happen. It was quite funny that obviously we spoke about a 5-year plan in the preview show. We released it, and then the next day they released a new 5-year plan around the championship. And I was like, very typical Boro breakdown. content for that for us, to be honest. But Tom, there was in the game yesterday, Josh Coburn. He was going to go to Plymouth on loan, and it could still potentially happen in January. Who knows? I think it depends on Boro's business, but it was written in the stars that he was going to score yesterday. And what was your overall thoughts on his game? His build up as well, because I thought he really contributed to Boro's attacking threat yesterday.
I think he did, and he did that better than any other game I've seen him play this season. Obviously, I didn't watch the Stoke game, so I can't comment on that. I don't know how he did there, but I think a lot of the time, other than the first game he came in, which I think was against Southampton, wasn't it? Where I thought he did well. I think his build-up play has been a little bit poor at times. And I would put that down to it just being a learning curve coming into a championship team, starting every week against championship defenders. He's obviously going to get better at it. But yesterday, I thought he was doing well. Some of the, like you said, the build-up play, some of the balls he was able to play off from holding it up were very good at times. Definitely an improvement on what I've seen from him before. Hopefully, he can keep that up.
Yeah, and would you keep him in the team, Tom, for Leicester? Would you like to see him start up front again?
I'm not sure. And I would say most weeks I'm not really sure, because I think it's difficult to pick between him and Latte-Laff at the moment, because they both offer different qualities. I would say probably just for consistency and the fact that he scored 2 yesterday, even though I thought he was a bit fortunate with the penalty rebound, that it just kind of fizzed off Michael Cooper's hand across the face of goal, straight back to Coburn. I think for the fact that he scored yesterday, keep his place against Leicester, and then go for our usual kind of tactic of, let Coburn wear everyone out and bring Latte-Laff on for the last 20 minutes and let him run at him.
Yeah, and you know what? When I look at Latte-Laff and I look at Coburn, I sometimes think that, I wonder what you two would be like together, as a partnership, and just see how it would potentially work. I think there's so much opportunity there for us to maybe find something or test something with them. What I do like is, Coburn can hold the ball, but sometimes I feel like he always just needs someone next to him to kind of make the most out of that. I think Latte-Laff could really do that. Obviously, you lose a position where you lose a bit of space where Crooks would normally be. But for me, I think you could potentially put Latte-Laff in that role, or you could put Rodgers in that role and have that mobility there. Might create a really good option for us, and I'd be really keen to see that if we could test it. And it's obviously on character to do so, but obviously, Crooks is playing well at the moment, but there is that opportunity there to maybe test it. And of course, if you do that, you don't have a striker on the bench to come on and make an impact. But then I kind of want to get your final thoughts on Coburn in general, around just to see if you would put him in the squad against Leicester, and then we'll move on to Middlesbrough conceding loads of goals.
Yeah, well, easy answer for me. I think yes. I agree with you, though. I would like to see them two play together. I think sometimes you see Coburn, and you rightly mentioned it there, he'll hold the ball up, but he just needs that runner rushing onto it. And I think that Latte-Laff obviously is that. I will say, I'll add to our point at the top of the show about Latte-Laff. He is physical as well, but it's just a different type of physicality. I think that when Latte-Laff has the ball, he can shoulder defenders off. We have seen it, but in terms of pinning, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's a little lad, isn't he? Latte-Laff, he's 5'8", but I would like to see them two play together. I just don't think we'll see it, because the lack of depth in that position is probably it's a little bit dangerous in terms of if one of them gets injured, we're already thin on the ground. We're even thinner on the ground if that happens. So I don't think we'll see it, but I would like to see it.
Yeah, on the other end of the pitch, though, I feel like we talk about this near enough every week on this podcast, and it's a riddle that we cannot solve. But if we look at the underlying numbers yesterday, 3-1 to Boro. Obviously, we know why we drew 3-3, of course, but another 2 from distance. 5 of the last 6 we've conceded. There's 10 goals that we've conceded this year with a combination of an XG of a 0.49, which are all pretty much worldies. And
Crazy.
it gets to a point you're thinking, then, are Boro just really unlucky, or are we just really poor defensively and in goal as well?
I don't think you can say it as a blanket statement either way. I think you have to look at each goal individually. And with the 2 goals that we conceded yesterday, and I'll bring the third one in on this as well. Sorry, the first one in on this. I don't think we were unfortunate. I think we were just really poor. And I'll talk about the first goal now, actually, because Plymouth do really well to pull us out onto their right-hand side and punch us down the left. We saw it quite frequently that they were dangerous from 3-man combination attacks. You see it in the equaliser. It's really clever from Kesler Hayden because he checks his shoulder to clock that run on the inside of him, which I mentioned earlier. We saw that quite frequently as they had their wide players very, very wide to the touchline. It allowed that inside run from a midfielder like Luke Cundle in this situation. And as Kesler Hayden checks his shoulder, Luke Cundle is there. He dummies it. He kind of jumps over the ball, Kesler Hayden, as Luke Cundle is coming on to the ball. And it takes Engel and Hackney out the game like that. McNair then has to engage instead of sitting off. And it kind of baits him in only for Cundle to release Finn Azaz on in the D. And I feel like Boro almost overcommit here. There's 5 players around Azaz at that point. And Vandenberg is probably the biggest culprit of an error here because he leaves Ballymumba completely free. But I do also question Jones as well. I feel like he's got to get back there and help Vandenberg out by tracking that run from Mumba, but he just doesn't. And it opens up so much space for Mumba to have that shot. I mean, as soon as he was played in, I knew that it was going to be a goal because when you see a player with that much room in the penalty box, you know that it's at least going to be a shot on target, and he wraps his foot around the ball and curls it beyond Dieng. It's really poor, I think, from Jones. He's got to suss that situation out and know that Vandenberg needs help, but also Vandenberg gets caught by that run from Azaz far too easy. There's just too many players around there for him to be attending to that. Just deal with the man on your shoulder, which is Ballymumba. And then with the second goal as well to make it 2-1 to Plymouth. Again, it's a 3-man combination attack. Miller, Mumba, Azaz. We saw that link-up play quite frequently in that game. And it's another really neat piece of play. This time a flick from Mumba. Azaz has the ball close to the corner of the box on their left-hand side. And if you watch the goal back, Morgan Whittaker makes a really good run as he was doing quite frequently. He was hovering around that left-hand side. And he makes a run on the outside as Azaz is making a move inside. And it's enough to catch the attention of Ralph Vandenberg, and you can see because he points to it. He points to that run from Whittaker, but then he disengages with Azaz for a split second, and it opens up that window really of space for Azaz to stop, shift, and shoot. I would have liked to have seen Vandenberg shut off that avenue. I know Whittaker has made that run, but I feel like Vandenberg should have been taking control of that situation there. But he did have a little bit of a struggling afternoon, I thought, Vandenberg, because firstly, I don't think he was helped too much. In that second goal, you saw that Jones was actually tracking back, but in the first one, he doesn't. I just feel like Vandenberg maybe needed a little bit more support there. But it was those inside runs, the underlapping runs, that were causing them problems. You think about the Jones, Dykesdale and Crooks combination from us. Plymouth were doing that, but with Miller, Mumba and Azaz. So props to them for that. Caused us problems, and they scored goals from those situations.
Yeah, and what I really like about some teams when they do play that expansive style is, it does stretch you, and it gives you that thought when you're a defending team. Do I go out wide to it, or do I stay in my position, keep quite narrow? Because obviously when a ball's so far out wide, they're not probably going to score from it. The aim is to try and get the ball in the box or to bring the ball back in, because that's obviously that's where the goal is. Very simple football maths. And I think with that as well, I think on the Azaz goal, the run from Whittaker, you got House in there as well who could potentially take that. But I think it's just that run where it just takes a bit of shift of footwork from Vandenberg, which kind of puts him on the weight on that right foot, which takes it away, creates that space. And it's a really good finish. He still has a lot to do, and it's a really good goal. And I think when you look at Boro's conceded goals from those really mad angles and from distance, I think there's always improvements that we could potentially make from. Is it from pressing? Is it trying to read a situation a little bit better? But there's still so much work to be done. And it just. I think sometimes you are unlucky in that respect because, like, you've still got a lot to do from 25 yards. You've still not always going to hit the shot from top bins every time. 9 times out of 10, this goes over the bar, hits someone with a pie. It just happens. You know what I mean? And I think Boro are unfortunate at that point, but there is still stuff that we could potentially do and being drilled. But the way that Plymouth play, they do give chances away. It's so expansive. It creates a lot of space in the middle of the pitch where you can create overloads. You get them on the transition, I think, very, very quickly. And that's where you'll probably get most of your goals. And I think Boro should have really put the game to bed yesterday. I think when we were ahead 1-0 and there was an opportunity for Jones to play the ball through to Coburn, I even said to you guys, as that position was happening, I even voice noted as I was watching it. And I was like, Jones is going to lose this. And he lost it. And I was like,
it was obviously going to. It was obviously because his final ball in that game and in recent games, probably since the Sunderland game, actually is gone back to being poor. Unfortunately, I really hope that it would continue to be good, but we've gone back to the poor crossing and poor final ball, poor decision making type Jones, which is really frustrating and unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm going to come on to him in just a moment on podcast questions. But Tom, speaking of Isaiah Jones as well, and then we're going to come back to him later. But he was through on goal. Gets brought down, edge of the box. We've seen this last year against Sunderland, and they were given a penalty when it was nowhere near in the box, and we got a red card. But do you think it was unfortunate for Boro, for Plymouth not to be kind of down to 10 men? Because I feel like that could have, again, shifted the scale of the game in Boro's favour again.
It was, yeah. And I mean, letter of the law, it was nowhere near a penalty. Let's start off by saying that it was outside the box, and it was quite clearly outside the box. However, in that situation, because of the double jeopardy law, if you're brought down outside the box and you're the last man, you're not trying to play the ball and you deny the goal scoring opportunity, it's a red card. Unlike if it was actually in the box, that would have been a yellow. So I think the referee got that wrong there. It probably should have been a red card. I was reading this morning the Plymouth manager saying they've had a couple in the last 2 games which were equally as horrific, and Boro need to take it on the chin and stuff. I mean, we shouldn't have to, but also Plymouth shouldn't have had to in the last couple of games. It'll probably even itself out, but no, I'd like to see some consistency in those decisions, because that's like 2 examples in the last 2 seasons which have been handled wrong as according to that law. But anyway, who's to say that would have had an effect on seeing the game out? Plymouth might have still tried to go after another goal and got the equaliser. We might have sat back and tried to see it out and invited pressure. Who knows? But I can see why Carrick was frustrated with that. For me, it should have been a red card, and hopefully it would have given us a little bit more to see out the game, but I'm sure it'll even itself out.
Yeah, and we didn't see out the game in the end, because the Whittaker free kick, and it was all square at the end, and anything could have happened probably after when the rain started to come down, because it looked absolutely horrendous out there. A lot of people got wet, but including Michael Carrick, who looked absolutely drenched on the touchline.
It got really dark as well, really, really, really dark. I thought that The Weeknd was going to come out to do a halftime Super Bowl performance or something. It was very odd. I was wondering where their floodlights were in the stands. They just weren't there. So there's just shadows rather than fans in the stands. It was very weird. And it happened like that as well. It was bright-ish and just descended into darkness and rain.
Yeah, it was a very niche music reference that day with The Weeknd coming out and protecting himself. That was very niche, but I like
it was either that or Janet Jackson, but yeah, we won't go with Janet.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get with Janet for a second. But I think the final question on Plymouth, Tom, and Carrick in his post-match presser said, felt like a defeat, felt like we'd done enough to win the game. Game state obviously is a massive part of football. If decisions don't go your way or you miss a certain chance and how a game can change. Do you think it was 2 points dropped in the end?
Probably based on the actual game, I'd say yes. However, coming into this game, I'd have definitely taken a draw. And, people might question that and say, like, Plymouth are down there in the table, like, we should be beating these teams. My view on it is that Plymouth are a good team. They're probably not where they should be in the league. I knew that was going to be a tough game. And for me, if we could draw away at Plymouth and then beat them at the Riverside and take 4 points off them this season, then that would be, pretty good thing to have on our record come the end of the season. I would say the same for most good teams in this league. If we can draw away, if not win, and then beat them at home, then it's obviously going to be better for us. So, like I said, I'd have taken that result going into it. I did think we did enough to win. Like I said, they might have been helped slightly by incorrect refereeing decision. It could have impacted the game, but who knows? But yeah, based on the actual game, yes, 2 points dropped. Based on paper and just looking at it in the calendar, no, I think that's 1 point gained.
Okay, then. Well, let's move on. And it's now time for podcast questions. Yes, it's podcast question time now, and every week you get the chance to send us a question via Twitter at Boro_breakdown, email the BoroBreakdown@hotmail.com, or by joining our Telegram chat with over 370 Boro fans chatting everything but Boro, and sometimes maybe occasionally Boro, maybe the odd debate here and there, but most of the time it's nothing to do with Boro at all. And the first question is from Nick, and it's on Twitter, and he says, our defensive problems down to personnel or the way we play? Could this be the most entertaining mid-table football we've seen for a long time? I could probably take this one, I think. I'll take this one. I think it's a mixture of everything. We've said about this numerous times. Probably the last 12 months of my character in. We score a lot of goals, and we're really good attacking. I think we're 1 off 100 goals under my character in the space of a calendar year, which is very unheard of for probably any Boro team I think I've seen for a long time. And I think the way that we play, I think it is just a case it creates gaps in different areas. I think we are easy on the transition to play against. But on the flip side, we're really good at creating space, really good at creating chances. And can we really perfect our defensive things? I think we can still improve. I think we've made improvements from last season, but I think there's still a long way to go to it, kind of where I want to be. And you know what? It might be an unpopular opinion, but I'd rather win a game 5-4 than win it 1-0. And that's just the way that I kind of want to see football be played.
I agree. Tom doesn't, but I agree.
I'd rather not concede.
Yeah, well, look, don't get me wrong, Tom. I'm changing, as a football manager now in terms of the way I play games. I'm very much, and I've really evolved from someone who used to play like 80% possession, and now I love the long ball into the box.
Yeah, you are a proper FIFA Neil Warnock at the moment, aren't you?
I am playing that way a little bit, where like I get the ball at my centre back, give it to my wing back, and absolutely hit it down the line, knock the ball in the box, just like. And my manager's in a tracksuit now and wears a cap, like I'm like Johnny Pulis at the moment.
Does he stand up at press conferences as well?
Oh yeah, stands up, only drinks Bovril, loves a pint with the lads, and just
gives his neighbours milk.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. I would say he doesn't give his neighbours milk because he's lactose intolerant, but it's not the point. He likes everything else. But proper backstory in it. But yeah, I think look, we're in a really entertaining side. I do think we'll be in the playoffs come the end of the season. But that's the way things are. But we do need to improve defensively, I think. But right now, I think it's more down to personnel and the way we play rather than more of a structural issue rather than just personnel itself. But next question is from Bambora, and all from Thailand as well, which I think is a really cool thing. Boro fans listening from Thailand, absolutely love that. I also love looking at our demographics and seeing like Australia, USA, Thailand. It's so cool to see as well. And they ask if you could make changes at the back, who would you drop and who would you bring back into the starting 11? Tom Green, I'll go with you on this one. Who would you, since you love a clean sheet, who would you drop and who would you bring in the starting 11?
This is going to sound very contradictory towards my clean sheet statement, but it'd be Dijkstelen for Van den Berg, just to offer a little bit more going forward on the right-hand side. If he's able to kind of go forward, overlap Jones, interact with him and Crooks. I think we've got a pretty good combination on that right-hand side, which, as much as I enjoy watching Van den Berg play, and I think he's going to be great for us, I don't think Van den Berg does that with Crooks and Jones on that right-hand side. I was saying to my uncle yesterday when we were watching the game, I wouldn't be surprised if in January, if McNair still hasn't signed a new contract, we sell McNair and we try and buy another right back, knowing that Tommy Smith's out for the season. Because looking at who we've got as centre-back options at the moment, this is assuming Lenihan's going to be back soon and not like a very long-term injury. We'll have Lenihan, Van den Berg, Fry, and Clark, who's obviously come back into the team, has been on the bench recently. I'm sure is just kind of waiting for an opportunity as well. That would give us 2 for both centre-back positions. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. But in the meantime, I'd like to see Dijksteel at right back just for what he offers in terms of combination play on the right-hand side.
Yeah, agreed. And I'd like to see Van den Berg centre half. Good ball playing centre half as well. It could be Van den Berg.
I think he'll be great, and within the next couple of years, I think he's got so much development to do. But he already looks very good, so he's just going to continue getting better. I think this is one where the recruitment team, obviously very, very early to say this, but I think they've spotted a gem there, and it's just up to us to polish that gem.
Yeah. And on the other end of the career spectrum, Jonny Howson, and this question's from Gokul, and he says, would you offer Howson a new contract next season as things currently stand? Dana, would you offer Howson a new deal?
I don't see why not. I mean, if this was Howson under Warnock, where I thought he was playing poorly and half our fans did not bat an eyelid towards that, then I'd probably say, yeah, it's time for Howson to be phased out. But he seems to have this performance resurrection every so often, and I think he's still a key part of this midfield. And I think Jonny Howson will end his career at Middlesbrough. I think that's fairly likely. I would give him a new contract. I don't really see why not. I know we do have Barlasser, and we could potentially sign Lewis O'Brien on a permanent deal. You think about the option that we have in Sam Greenwood's deal. I'd be interested to see if we've got one in there for Lewis O'Brien. But I would probably keep Howson around. I think he's good for Hackney as well in terms of just learning the game and things like that. I mean, as if Hackney needs another player to learn off when he's got Michael Carrick as a manager. But yeah, I don't really see why not.
Yeah. Okay, then. I think for me, it depends what division we're in.
I don't think we'll be in the Premier League, Johnny. Don't worry.
I know. I was on about League One.
I was going to say, if somehow we did manage to get promoted, I'd be doing me standard Football Manager, offering Howson a player coach contract and just not using him throughout the season, just to keep him around, really. But yeah, I mean, my personal view on it as well is that he seems to get a 1-year extension every year, and I don't think this year's going to be any different. Sure goes on with Jonny Howson.
Sure goes on, and you're a Jonny Howson guy, aren't you, Tom? So, but the final question is from John. He says, how many more opportunities does Jones have to waste before he gets benched? This comes, I think, from end product Isaiah Jones. We've spoken about him many times in this podcast, and kind of get better, kind of get worse. He is very inconsistent. I feel like scientists will have to review Isaiah Jones' performances sometimes, because some of them are just like not humanly possible, like how you can do something so good and then something so shit in the space of a minute. But what do we think, guys, in this one? How many opportunities does Jones get? Would you actually bench him anyway, Tom? Would you bench Isaiah Jones?
I don't know, because I think it depends what other options that we have. I'm still not totally convinced by Sammy Silvera over 90 minutes. I think his best football at the moment came as an impact sub. Morgan Rogers, I'm kind of more used to seeing as a number 10. I don't know how he'd do in that winger position. I had an idea during the game yesterday to potentially try Latte Laugh on the right and have him kind of being able to cut in and interact with Coburn. We don't lose what Crooks brings at number 10 at that point, but I don't think that's how Michael Carrick would see Latte Laugh, and obviously Force is injured, so personally, I persevere with Jones. You know, it was only a few weeks ago at the Sunderland game where he was being absolutely lauded for his performance, and you know, leaving Jack Clark sat on the floor to assist goals and stuff. He's clearly got that ability. He's been better this year. Potentially, like going back to that last question about the defensive changes, potentially if we bring Dijksteel in and you know there's more interaction down that right hand side, it might help Jones out. But also, I think Carrick has to kind of coach him through this. You look at last season, Force was the go-to on the right wing a lot. It wasn't really Jones. This is really Jones's first full season under Michael Carrick. You would probably say, kind of given the problems he had last year, I think he just needs coaching through it. I think there's obviously a player there. You just need to kind of point him in the right direction. I think with some of his play.
Dan, have you got anything to add on that one? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's our only fit out-and-out winger, because you think of our other wide options, they're more of players that are going to cut inside and try to shoot, and I think Jones gives us that quite natural width. Force is the other one who is definitely not categorised as a striker anymore, let's be honest. He's a winger, but he's not fit, he's injured. So in terms of style and the type of option that you want in that position, I think we do need that blend of someone that is going to cut inside and roam into those central areas like we see with Simon Greenwood on the left, but on the other side, we want to see that natural width just to give us that extra option to stretch the play, to give us a little bit of a different avenue. So I would persevere with Jones purely because I just don't think that there's another option there. I did say Morgan Rogers earlier in the show. I kind of do want to see that, but at the same point, I also want to see him through the middle. So I would stick with Jones. As frustrating as he is, he's also got the ability to just click and to have a 10 out of 10 man of the match performance. So hopefully we could see that sooner rather than later.
Okay then. Well, thank you very much everyone for your questions. And let's move on to the praise and place. Yes, everyone's second favourite part of the show behind Shithouse Island. It is the praise and place, and the only place where to give praise to a player, a coaching staff member, Tom's beautiful green jumper, and Dana's lovely scarves behind her. I don't really know what else to add into the praise and place at all, but you decide. You watch, add some praise. Well, the first person I want to come to this week to be in the praise and place is Dana Malt, who is in your praise and place.
Oh, I thought you were saying I was in the praise and place there. Thanks, Jonny. In terms of who's in my praise and place, I mean, Morgan Rogers for his performance against Exeter. I know it was a lower league opposition, but it was just really, really enjoyable to watch him on Tuesday night, driving with the ball, taking it from deep, bringing it up the pitch, spinning beyond players. And he got really into the game after he scored. There was a period of 5 or so minutes where he was really on it. He took the ball on the byline, shimmy past one place, shimmy past another. He was the one that was quickening the tempo even before his goal, and then after it as well. He was just very good and intelligent in his link-up play. And then Dan Barlaster as well in the same game in the first half, where Boro were maybe a little bit, I wouldn't say they were off-boil, they just didn't have that quickness to it, but Dan Barlaster was making sure that ball was being circulated. He was popping the ball to players in better positions, progressing the play, and it's not necessarily a headline type of performance or headline actions within a game, but to do that efficiently and very well, I think is definitely worthy of praise. I thought he kept things ticking, as the cliche goes, so I'd praise him for that. And yeah, them two really, because I want to focus on that Exeter game a little bit more than the Plymouth one. I thought them two were good, but Morgan Rogers was the standout. It was a fantastic performance from him.
Yeah, so Rogers and Barlaser. Tom, who are you going to go for? Who's in your praise and place this week?
I'll also go for Morgan Rogers. Thought he played really well on Tuesday, and that worldie of a goal just absolutely cemented him in the praise and place for me. And as with most weeks, Hayden Hackney is still in there. Just incredible player to watch. Like honestly, I can't remember the last time I've enjoyed watching a centre midfielder play for Boro so much. like potentially Tav under Wilder was maybe kind of getting to this level, but he's still not on this level of enjoyment of watching a centre midfielder play. I actually can't remember from 30 years of watching Boro too many others. I say 30 years of watching Boro. I wasn't watching Boro when I was a baby, but
I was thinking that he's fresh out the womb and he's sticking on the telly. I watched Boro against Aston Villa.
Oh yeah, cable remote. Give it here. Sky wasn't a thing back then, but yeah, I can't remember too many other examples of like such fun centre midfielders to watch. Just coming on so well as a player.
Yeah, and look, he's a really good player, isn't he, Hackney? I think he is probably one of Boro's best this season. I think for me, though, Morgan Rogers, I think, naturally gets my place. Same as you, a hat-trick from Rogers. And Dyke-Steele again, just because he's just wonderful to watch. And I think that's kind of it for me, really. I think we're very easy to give Rogers out. I just want to throw Dyke-Steele in because I love him, so we're going to go with that. But now let's move on. Let's do some bit of trivia now because we all love a bit of trivia. And guys, get your notepads ready because I want to give you 2 questions this week. And question number 1 is, what season was the last time Boro did the league double over Leicester? And secondly, who is the top scorer in the Boro versus Leicester fixture? Guys, are you ready? If so, the timer starts now. Your time is up. Guys, it's trivia time. The answers are very... I want your answers. Tom, come with you first. What was the last season Boro did the double over Leicester? And who is the top goal scorer between Boro and Leicester? Yeah, and you also haven't unmuted your mic, which is a classic.
That was glorious.
Classic me, yeah. These are both absolute guesses, so I don't want anyone coming at me in the comments for not knowing my Boro history or something here, but I've gone with 0304 and Macaroni. I just seem to remember maybe on the Boro Blitz DVD that I've got around that time we had quite a heavy home win against Leicester, maybe. So I'm going with that.
Yeah, that's a great DVD. Boro need to bring some of those DVDs back. I remember when I used to like season reviews and Ali Brownlee used to like narrate. That was
Euro Dream DVDs where it's at.
Yeah.
I just never watched the final. Turn it off before the end.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's turned off. Dana, what are you going to go for?
I've gone for 1999, 2000, and in terms of a top scorer, my mind immediately went to Heskey, but then also Vardy's been at Leicester for a long time and he's also the epitome of a menace, so I've gone with Vardy as well, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so the answers are in. The answer is the last time Boro did a double over Leicester was in 2001 to 2002 season. So Tom, you just season off. I think you're season off as well.
Yeah.
And then the top goal scorer in the fixture is actually Yakubu with 3 goals. So there you go, which is a bit of an odd one. I got it from Transfermarkt, and if it's wrong, it's wrong. We're going to get Sean Wilson on the podcast very soon to give us his fact and history of the week. So that will soon change from there. But let's move on to the game itself. And the league leaders Leicester have won 10. We actually did win 10 in a row until Leeds beat them on Friday night 1-0 at the King Power. But we spoke to Chris from Leicester Till I Die to find out a little bit more about Enzo Maresca's side.
Hi Johnny, it's Chris from Leicester Till I Die. How you doing? I had a few minutes tonight, so I thought better do this just in case I sleep in the morning. So here we go. Leicester this season. It's nice to be winning again. That's all I can say, although obviously last time out we didn't. But honestly, the start we've had, we could only have dreamed about. Yes, we've lost twice, Hull, which was not unlucky, but we just didn't take our chances. Leeds, credit to them. I think whoever finishes above Leeds this term will actually get promoted. They are the best team to date that we have played so far this season. Summer transfers, where do I start? People are calling us the Man City of the Championship, but in fact, we spent less on incoming than we got from outgoing. So we haven't gone mad. We got 80 million just short for Maddison and Barnes, and with no way if we spent sort of near that. But we also let a hell of a lot more players go that were out of contract. We may have kept them had we stayed in the Premier League, but there was more outgoings than there were incomings. But the incomings we've made, wow, maybe 5 players from last season still in the squad. Apart from that, it's new. Have they gelled well? Winks, I mean, wow, what a signing. Signing of the summer, I believe, in the whole championship, not just Leicester. Fatou we've got on loan with an option to buy on the wing. He is young and he's gonna. If we sold Maguire for 80 million, when we come to sell him, if we sign him, and I believe we will do, we're going to get 100 million for him. He's going to be amazing. Mavididi on the other wing. Again, another signing. But you've also got to look at the players that we kept that Marqueza has turned round. You know, Ndidi, yes, he's been injured, but he was doing nothing under Brendan Rodgers. But having said that, none of the team were doing anything under Brendan Rodgers. Glad he went in the end. Twinkle toed Ndidi now. You know, he could be on Strictly Come Dancing. He's a player transformed. And Yannick Vestergaard, wow, the player everybody loved to hate, bought by Rodgers. God knows why, because he wasn't a Rodgers style player, didn't fit into Rodgers' style of play. But wow, again, you know, he's turned him round so much, and he's started well, apart from a couple of games, one in the cup, one he was banned for. He started every game. Amazing player. Style of play, well, we do like to hold on to the ball. We slow it down. We play it out from the back. The new goalkeeper, Mads Hermansson, is the epitome of the sweeper keeper. We will invite teams on to us. If you want the ball, you've got to come and get it. That's the sort of game we play. Leeds didn't let us play that. Leeds said, we're coming to get it whether you want us to or not, and fair play to them. Who could be a threat to you? Look, we've played 15 games. We've got 13 different goal scorers. Vardy's not even, in the top 2. You can take our strikers out and our wingers will just hurt you. They will. So, it's like asking me who is going to be my favourite child, if you like. I can't pick. There's just so many players that could hurt you if you let us play our game. It's away from home, and we've not lost away from home all season. We're not even drawn. We've won every single away game. So it'll be interesting. Score prediction, I think it'd be interesting, and it's what I'm looking to see. We responded to the Hull game when we lost to Hull very well, but we did have the international break just after. Here we're going from playing Leeds and losing to playing Middlesbrough straight away, and it will be interesting to see. I want to see how we react to that loss, but I've got to go with my team this season, and I'm going to go 3-1 to Leicester. Sorry guys, but I do wish you all the best for the season, and take care.
Yes, so thank you very much for that, Chris. And, what a time to be a Leicester fan. And over the last few years, Cups, Champions League, winning the Prem, relegation. Just they've had it all, and they've been very fortunate over the last few years, Leicester. And credit to them, But what guys? Obviously, the game will come to your predictions in just a moment. But what comes to mind when you think of Boro Leicester? For me, I always think of Emil Heskey scoring at Wembley, and them winning in the replay. and breaking Boro's hearts. And got a good story about that as well, because my dad and my Uncle Dave went to that game, and my dad said, put the ribbons on the cup, and Heskey scored about 20 seconds later, so he could be in the original.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he's probably going to watch this.
Bonkers.
Yeah, he's going to be watching this, and he'd be like, for fuck's sake, Jonny, why'd you have to tell everyone that? What it is,
Put the
what it
ribbons on
is.
the cup.
Yeah, so there you go. How about that? But what do you think of, guys, when you think of Boro versus Leicester? Tom, I'm going to come to you first.
I think of the last time I ever left a game early. I think this was maybe 2003-ish. But as I remember, we were 3-1 down. Me and my dad looked at each other like, we're not getting anything out of this. We walked out probably about 88th, 89th minute. I want to say this was a long time ago. Got out the stadium, heard a massive cheer. So we thought, we've made it 3-2, but we're not going to get much else out of this. We literally walked to where Temenos is now, which was a car park at the time. And there was a guy who had Century FM playing with his car door open, jumping around all over the place because we just equalised to make it 3-3. So, yeah, me and my dad walked out for the last couple of minutes in injury time and missed 2 goals, including an all-important equaliser. So that is the reason now why I don't leave games early anymore. Even if I'll go down to the concourse because I'm in a mood and I don't want to see the final whistle, like when Burnley won last season and won the league, I'll always kind of stay in the concourse and watch the end of it because of that game.
Yeah, and Dana, what are you going to go for? I've got one more memory to add before I put my predictions, but what are you going to go for?
Yeah, mine's a random one. It's the very first game of the 2013-14 season. We lost, obviously. But it was the first game that I got moved my season card seat because they put that I don't know what it is, but there's like an area for, I think it's the commentators, actually, the Sky Sports commentators at the top of the East Stand. I was actually there in that row of seats, so I had to be moved. And I just remember it was very, very sunny and we lost that game. So yeah, the start of my new seat that I sit in now at the end in block 40 something. I mean, I've been sat there for God knows how long and I don't even know what block it is. Very me. But yeah, that's what comes to mind. And then that 2-2 draw in the Premier League where it seemed like we had it. And then was it Martin Daroon conceded that? We gave away that penalty, we conceded it. Yeah, ridiculous.
Yeah, Negredo's got double that day. Unreal. Very, very good. Still can't believe we had an Alvaro Negredo up top. That's just insane for me.
And he signed on my birthday, so that was a nice present.
God bless Negredo. But I was going to say the last thing that comes to mind is there's a goal, and if you haven't seen it, and I think it's probably one of the best goals I've probably seen a Boro striker score, but it's Alan Boksic at Filbert Street, which is the old Leicester stadium. I think it was the year we actually did a double over them. And he gets the ball and he has a lovely chip, and it is absolutely sensational. So if you're going to watch a goal, Alan Boksic against Leicester, I think 2001. Again, unreal. But let's move on to predictions now. And as Dana's just killed a fly, we were like to...
I missed it completely, actually. I did a Sammy Silvera.
It's like Isaiah Jones' left-footed volley yesterday.
I didn't even get the connection right on my arm.
I'm going to predict that fly sees the game on Saturday. Tom, what are you going to predict? What's your predictions?
I'm going to go 1-0 Boro. I'm going to predict exactly the type of scoreline I want to see. And we're just going to grind it out and go off into the international break on a win.
And for you, Dana, what are you going to go for?
Unfortunately, I'm going to go for a Leicester win. I think 3-1 to them. I'm actually going to go the same with same as Chris.
Yeah, and they have got absolutely unbelievable sides. They have no right to be in the championship. Like Harry Winks in centre midfield, who top 6 player last year. Jimmy Vardy still got a little bit about Iniacho. Again, Premier League player. The whole team, they should be in this form. They should be winning every game. So anything that Enzo Maresca doesn't do, and I mean, you got to have record points this year, in my opinion. But I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. I'm going to go for. Boro will come up from 2-0 down to draw 2-2. But Tom, as we like to round things off every week, I always give you the opportunity to give you Tom's bet of the week. Have you got something for the game against Leicester on Saturday?
Again, disclaimer: no one back this because I never win these bet builders. But I'm starting to go for a new goal scorer on my bet now. I'm going for Lucas Engel anytime. I just think the amount of them rocket shots that he has that keep getting blocked, one of them's eventually going to go in. So yeah, I'm going to keep backing Lucas Engel, and then something to do with corners and cards and stuff like that to boost the odds up. But yeah, Lucas Engel, a score anytime. And I will continue to put that until he scores.
Yeah, 5-star Lucas Engel. I'm going to go for again. Well, guys, thank you very much for joining me as always. To listeners and the viewers, thank you very much for watching us and listening as well. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on your podcast provider. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the Boro Breakdown channel. There's 40% of you that watch these videos every week and haven't subscribed yet, so do subscribe. Get our numbers up. It'd be fantastic for us. But for right now, 2 games with plenty of bangers, but can Boro keep the spark alive against Leicester and create a firework display? This has been the Boro Breakdown podcast, and that was our Boro Matchday Chatter in a pod. Up the Boro Breakdown.